All right, so the gear used on the recording is the same as what I used for the playthrough and for this tutorial today. So starting with the old AT100 prototype from 1994, still the main guitar after all these years, but obviously I employ a lot of different things. But for the solo I did on the record anyway, you'll hear the tone change to a lesser gain and a cleaner tone, and it's this 1960 hardtail Fender Strat, which I first acquired and played on the Theme from a Perfect World record when we were searching for the ultimate Strat tone for On Your Way Sweet Soul, and this guitar kind of found its way to me through the magical universe. Whole story behind that, but glad to still be able to use it on assorted tracks on all the records. The amps you can just see them just almost off camera there, but it's the Sir SL68, which has been my favorite touring amp and recording amp now for several years. So John Sir's design essentially is taking a 1968 plexi circuit, but doing the hot rodded kind of Eddie Van Halen thing, and it does it on a very high level. But the way I've always used my Marshall amps are more for a loud, clean platform. So he's modded these amps to be more identical to the actual 68 plexi that I have, which is the sound, of the Resolution record and a lot of other records after that. So just without the lead tone, here's the amps on their own. So this is pretty much a straight up, clean tone. And then I put my JHS AT. Just one of those here. So all my distortion lead tone is coming from that JHS AT pedal hitting the front end of the SL68s. I am running in stereo, and it's being split by two stereo devices. I've got a Halo, my Keeley dual echo, and it's also feeding into a Nocturne. So I've got a bit of reverb on at all times, and then I can add a bit of delay. When you hear me switch to the neck pickup for the solo section, that's when it goes to the Strat, and then on my switcher here I go to the Keeley Mark III driver, which is my signature kind of modded blues driver. Oh, and there is a little extra special effect that I use for part of the melody in the rock and roll section, and that's my GNI Octavia. It's just called a GNI Octafuzz, and it's hitting the front end. I've got my lead sound, but then I'll hit the front end of the AT pedal with a GNI Octavia. Kind of that Hendrixy, This is a quirky effect that really sounds best on the neck pickup and above the 12th fret. It's not wrong. I get away with it occasionally, but it really speaks. The other thing I should point out is when I get my lead tone dialed in from my bridge pickup. That's back to the JHS. If I go to my neck pickup, it's going to be muddy. Just about, I don't think there's any exception to this. Once I get that warm lead tone dialed in, neck's going to be muddy. But how I get around that is when I want to go to the neck pickup in their hotter lead, which is I did do that on the Strat when that solo starts building and you hear that extra distortion kick in and really a high energy thing. What I'm doing to get rid of the low end mud, I've got another Mark III driver on the board that serves the purpose of that exact thing. So I'm hitting the front end of my JHS. So I keep my lead tone on the JHS, but I'm putting the Mark III driver in a setting that's got the germanium diode instead of the silicon, and that kind of is taking away some low end and it's less compressed. And I crank up the treble on that to brighten it up, and so it sounds like this. And it gets it into that chewy neck pickup thing that we love. Without it, with it.